With long hair, a goofy grin, and the trademark little fingers and thumb-waggling celebration, Ronaldo de Assis Moreira, aka Ronaldinho, thrilled an entire generation with magic and unbelievable skills. This is the story of how a party animal became the best in the world. Did you ever get to see prime Ronaldinho weave through defenders on the pitch? It has to be one of the finest sights in human history, right up there with the Mona Lisa and the rising sun. I know, sounds crazy, right? But trust me, if you didn't, you missed out on greatness in real time. The YouTube clips don't do him enough justice. The guy was unreal. Ronaldinho dominated the game for a bit, then got bored and decided to take it easy. This was a player so skilled he left his best moves on the nightclub dance floor. But where did this journey to the top begin? Young Ronaldinho's story kicks off in 1980, down in Porto Alegre, Brazil. Now, things weren't exactly sunshine and rainbows back then. Brazil was going through a rough patch, with corruption, crime, and a big old gap between the rich and the poor. It wasn't easy, especially for Ronaldinho's mum, Donna. She was a nurse, working her tail off to keep things afloat after her husband, João, sadly passed away. He had a heart attack when Ronaldinho was just 8. Ronaldinho had a big brother named Roberto, who was his idol and first coach, all rolled into one. Roberto was a footballer too, but injuries cut his dreams short. Still, he saw the spark in Ronaldinho and pushed him to chase that dream. Roberto even ended up playing abroad for a bit, but that's another story. The point is, Roberto paved the way for Ronaldinho, who landed a spot in the youth academy at Grêmio, the same club his brother played for. You know that crazy story on social media about how a young Ronaldinho scored all the goals in a game? Well, that actually happened when he was just 13. Grêmio's youth team thumped another team 23-0. And guess who put every single one in the net? Yep, young Ronaldinho. Local headlines went wild, and everyone knew there was something special about this kid. By the time 1997 rolled around, Ronaldinho was already a national sensation in Brazil. He was tearing up the fields with his crazy speed and moves, playing for both the Brazil under-17 team and Grêmio's youth squad. Everyone in Brazil knew his name, and his fame was starting to spread overseas too. After a few years of playing with the big boys at Grêmio, it was time for Ronaldinho to take his talents to Europe. Big clubs like Arsenal and Manchester United came knocking, but Ronaldinho listened to his brother's advice. That's why he ended up at Paris Saint-Germain in France. It wasn't the flashiest move, but it turned out to be the perfect first step for Ronaldinho's European adventure. Ronaldinho arrived in France in 2001, and it took him a while to adjust to European football. The first season, he mostly sat on the bench, learning the ropes from the sidelines. Eventually, he became a key player for the team, even though things weren't always smooth sailing in France. Ligue 1, the French league, wasn't quite the perfect fit for Ronaldinho's style. The other players on his team weren't always on the same page, and the games were often rough and tumble. Defenders loved hacking Ronaldinho down to stop him from doing his magic. But that didn't stop him from doing that magic, especially on the dance floor, because, you see, the young Brazilian was a party animal. PSG manager Luis Fernandes was a fan of Ronaldinho, the player, but definitely not a fan of parties. Fernandes blamed Ronaldinho's poor performances on his nightlife and frequent vacations to Brazil. He wasn't homesick, man only caught the party fever. Nobody parties quite like Ronaldinho. Jérôme Leroy, who played with the Brazilian, said this about his former teammate. Ronaldinho didn't train any day of the week, and would just turn up on a Friday for the game on Saturday. I think he was trying to follow in the steps of Romario, who would also go out every night, but he didn't have the same success. But despite the challenges, Ronaldinho still had moments of pure genius in Paris. And even though things weren't perfect on the field, the move to France was actually a great decision. It got him used to the tougher training sessions, the high standards of European football, and the kind of competition he'd face from now on. By the time he left Paris, Ronaldinho was ready to take on the biggest leagues and the best players in the world. Now, if you're an old head watching this, you might remember how Barcelona promised their fans they were going to sign David Beckham. Well, things didn't quite work out that way. Instead, they ended up with Ronaldinho for a cool £25 million. To understand just how much Ronaldinho changed things at Barcelona, we've got to look at some trophies. In the 5 years before he arrived, they won only one La Liga title, the Spanish League Championship. But in the 5 years after, 2 La Liga titles, 2 Supercopas, and the big one, the Champions League. Ronaldinho at Barca remains his best body of work. It is where the boy became a man. The modern era of Barcelona domination started with Ronaldinho walking into Camp Nou. And boy, did he make some memories while he was there. And yes, he also imported those famous dance moves from Paris. You remember those Ronaldinho's party habits that started in Paris? Well, let's just say they followed him to Spain. Barcelona was supposed to be a fresh start, but right after signing, he blew off a pre-season game against Manchester United by partying all night at a Brazilian bar. The crazy thing is, he still showed up and played amazingly. They won 3-1, and that was just the beginning. The Brazilian maestro scored 94 goals in his time at Barcelona, and each one was a gem. There was his first goal, a screamer against Sevilla after weaving past two defenders, or that crazy overhead kick against Villarreal. And let's not forget the cheeky little toe poke against Chelsea, or the solo goal that left Real Madrid speechless at their own Bernabeu stadium. At 25, he was already a World Cup winner, Champions League and Ballon d'Or winner. He had the world at his feet, but he kept those feet on the dance floor of Barcelona nightclubs. Here's the thing, for the first few years at Barcelona, Ronaldinho was a total pro. He was focused on training, dedicated to the game, and scoring tons of goals. But then, the partying started to take its toll. He wasn't training as hard, wasn't in the best shape, and some folks at the club even thought he was past his prime. It's like he got bored even though he was still young and super successful. There was even a time he showed up to training, passed out in the massage room. In 2007, Ronaldinho and his teammate Robinho threw a massive party in Brazil with the national team. It went on for a whole day and night, no sleep, just pure wildness. In Spain, Ronaldinho loved clubs like Opium and Pasha. According to former board member Javier Sala y Martin, he almost convinced a young Lionel Messi to join the fun. Ronaldinho plays the bongos until 2 in the morning every night. Everyone sees that. Everybody has cellular phones and takes pictures of him. Everyone knows we have a discipline problem. Ronaldinho is getting older, partying all the time, trying to suck Messi into his lifestyle. How do you stop it? Well, we need a sergeant. We need a general. And that general was none other than Pep Guardiola. When Pep walks into the Barcelona locker room, he finds Barca legends Ronaldinho and Deco looking like they just stumbled out of a nightclub. Let's just say Pep wasn't exactly thrilled. He demanded the club sell them both. No second chances, no room for hangovers in Pep's new Barcelona. After Barcelona, Ronaldinho landed at AC Milan in Italy. Seemed like a fresh start, right? Nope. The party followed him there like a stubborn shadow. He became a local legend for his off-field antics, not necessarily his on-field magic. When the young, super talented Pato made the stop at Milan, Ronaldinho, ever the mentor, took him under his wing. A little too literal, as it turned out. A couple of years later, Pato's wife dips out, blaming Ronaldinho's relentless partying for turning her husband into a fellow night owl. Still yearning for that French nightlife, Ronaldinho still made regular stops to Paris for late-night adventures at a club called L'Hermitage. On top of the partying, the man was putting on some serious weight. He wasn't battling the extra weight, and the nightlife just wouldn't quit. He might have been doing his thing on the pitch, but the party lifestyle was beginning to get in the way, especially with club fans. The final nail in the coffin came one fateful night when angry Milan supporters cornered Ronaldinho in a sweaty nightclub at 3 AM, the night before a big game. The club was done with him, and Ronaldinho was soon shown the exit door. That Milan exit was basically the end of Ronaldinho's European dream. He headed back to Brazil to keep playing, but let's say the party scene there wasn't exactly rehab. He had some wild adventures, on and off the field, but never quite recaptured that pure magic he brought to Barcelona. There's no doubt Ronaldinho was an incredible footballer, a true legend. But he also kind of wasted his prime chasing late-night fun instead of adding more trophies to his collection. Still, the dude brought so much joy to the game with his dazzling skills and infectious smile.